Hey there, YouTubers. It's Leo Olderpold. And I've brought you back to the first place I ever made a YouTube video, which was about 2 years ago and about this time of year. And I'm in exactly the same spot. My goodness, things have changed since then. Just smoking in my Bewley Bulldog. I picked up from eBay. Beautiful thick bowl on this. Some Cornell and Deal's Black Frigate, which is a very interesting tobacco, I have to say. And much like the very first time I did a YouTube video right here, it's pretty chilly today, but fortunately not with the wind that was going on at that time. It's quite mellow, the sun's out, it's nice and crisp. Good frost this morning. So, lots going on. Things are developing in with a Papua New Guinea job quite well. I'm currently working with a friend of mine who's in the United Nations organisation UNESCO, which is a heritage and education organisation, with a view to setting up conservation areas in Papua New Guinea on the ground that will help, the designation of which rather will help build some resilience and interest from other NGOs, non-governmental organisations, to be involved in development in that area, in sustainable development in that area of the country. So a lot going on, There's a few projects going on, but the job's looking a lot more likely, or rather things are happening a lot quicker than originally anticipated. So I may be in Papua New Guinea as early as the summer of this year, but we'll see. Yes, very interesting times. But actually, one of the reasons I brought you here, did a video some time ago on what we call the Clearfell system of forestry, which this plantation of, it's predominantly, there's a bit of Douglas fir, but it's predominantly western hemlock. This plantation's about the stage where ordinarily it would be clear-felled, completely cut down, and then replanted, started again. But I've been looking around for quite a few months to show you an example of a different system of forestry, one which the Germans are very familiar with, because they invented it and they've been doing it for a very long time. Now they call it Plentewald. We call it continuous cover. The principle is the same. The principle is to basically ensure that not all of the trees on any given area of ground are felled in one go, thus negating the need for replanting, because what you're doing in that meantime is encouraging this understory here to grow up and replace the high canopy trees. So that's kind of the principle in a nutshell. It's a lot more complicated than that, but in principle that's about it. It basically negates the need to cut down trees and then replant, which does no good for many things. Terrible for the soil, terrible for wildlife and biodiversity in general, terrible in terms of watershed management and catchments, and managing in areas which are prone to flooding, clear fell up in the hills where I am at the moment, for example. Once you take all of these trees off, well, all the water hits the ground and then runs straight downhill and into the rivers. Rivers get high, people further downstream get flooded. That's, you know, kind of also it in a nutshell. Again, more complex than that, but that's the general principle. So for about the last 20 years there's been quite a lot of work going on in the UK looking at continuous cover forestry systems, but we're still very much in the experimental stage here, believe it or not. As I say, the Germans, well, they've been doing it for a very long time, and they are far better at it than we are. As with most things, car manufacture, tobacco manufacture, beer, smoked pork products. Got to love the Germans. Awesome people. But I'll take you for a quick look around. I'm going to unhook you from this tree that you're currently tied on. There we go. So, well, you can see above me these canopy trees. Now, as I say, ordinarily this is about the stage where in common forest practice here in the UK, a harvesting machine would come, cut them all down, and then all of the problems of replanting. Go back to the video I did on the Clearfell system, and actually fact, I'll put a link to that in the bucket just to remind you about how that works. But what we're trying to do here is avoid it. So not only are we trying to avoid it, we're also actually trying to diversify the species in the woodlands as well. So what we've got here is a lot of beech growing up behind me. Now beech is a very shade tolerant species, so the beech trees will sit very happily underneath the canopy like that for quite a long period of time. Quite happily they'll just sit there until there's gaps made in the canopy, and then these will start to race towards the light. So the principle being that rather than clear fell this whole lot around me, you take out a few individual trees, maybe that one, maybe that one there, a few more all around, and you'll create a little pocket of sunlight effectively. And then what will happen is these trees that are already here in the understory, they'll suddenly start growing up, which means that you've got diversity in the canopy structure, and you've got diversity in the species as well. Now this is more closely representative of a natural forest system or semi-natural forest system than ordinary forest practice would adhere to. And of course what it means is that there's always forest on this ground. So, without boring you too much more, that's kind of the principle of continuous cover forestry, or Plantewald. Look at the sunlight behind me, isn't that beautiful? Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Oh, there's quite a bit of Norway spruce in here as well, actually. Oh, it's a beautiful one over there. Real shame, I've always thought, is that in this country you've got trees like Sitka spruce and Norway spruce that are the standard forestry tree, but they're only ever grown on a sort of a 60-65 year rotation, so they never really get much older than that before they're cut down and the area is replanted again, which is a crying shame, because I'm sure you guys out there in the northwest of the United States and Canada, where Sitka particularly is native, They are some pretty impressive trees. Very, very impressive trees. And what's really unfortunate is over here, we can't stand them because they are always planted in a monoculture and there's nothing but Sitka. And they're never allowed to grow on to maturity. So you never get to see how enormous and majestic a Sitka spruce tree really can be, which is a hell of a shame. But there you go. Awesome tobacco this, actually. I'm really enjoying it. And it's nice that it's cold enough for me to enjoy a bit of Latakia. Because I tell you what, when I get to Papua New Guinea, I ain't going to be smoking much Latakia. I'll be taking a few vapors and a bit of burley, but that'll be it. My Latakia stash will be squirreled away somewhere in a box over here in the UK, probably for quite a number of years, and nicely matured when and if I ever get back to it. By the way, I'll try and put in squeeze in quickly before I run out of time. A lot of you guys have done video responses to my most recent video prior to this, so thank you so much for that. It's been overwhelming, actually. It's really generated some interest. That was the question as to why people do this, why people make YouTube videos. So some really surprising responses from people, actually. Just enormous flurry of sudden subscribers and VRs, much more so than I ever got for any competition I did. So that's really quite something. Obviously I touched on something there that a lot of people are asking themselves. So if you've commented and I haven't responded to your comment yet, please do forgive me. I am working my way through a number of the VRs to that video, but I've been very busy recently, as you can imagine. I'm doing my full-time day job and acting as a consultant for this university currently as well. So, but in any case, I'll speak to you guys soon. I hope this has been a bit more of an interesting video than one taken in my front room or my kitchen. You guys take it easy, and I will see you all again real soon. Have a great time. Ta-da.